Hi, my name's James O'Keefe. I'm captain of the Massachusetts Pirate Party. It is Sunday, July 13th, 2025. This is our member meeting. We have them every 2 weeks or so. Sometimes every other week, sometimes every 3 weeks, depends on how things go and holidays and all that. So um, any pirate is welcome to join these meetings. The details are at masspirates.org. Um, they are Sundays at 8 p.m. every 2 weeks. So with that, if folks could please identify, I'm from Somerville and I'm chair of the party.
Steve Revelak, Arlington, Massachusetts.
Alex Stern, Newton, Massachusetts.
Great,
Griffin Berman, Boxborough, Massachusetts, guest.
thanks. Okay, with that, is there anything folks want to add to the agenda? All right, great. So reports, not well, there'll be stuff later on, so I'll get to that when we get to it. We don't have someone who's our U.S. Pirate Party representative, so we won't go through that except to say that they had elections. One of our representatives, Eli, is auditor for the National Party. I know Joe is very busy, and so if there's folks out there who would like to be one of our two representatives to the U.S. Pirate Party, that would be great. So with that, in terms of projects, events, I changed the order of things. I put all of the bills to review within projects, events, instead of decisions and endorsements. So updates of the 2025 voter outreach. Alec has been dutifully following up on all the public records requests for the 231 cities and towns that have at least one registered pirate voter, and to get the voter list from that and extract the list of pirates from there. We recently got Somerville. There's about 21 pirates in Somerville. Do you have a further update, Alec?
Yeah, generally it's going well. I'm just because like the first bulk of our efforts, I was sending an email which basically requested the pirate, like basically saying send, you can just send us the info of your pirates. But we've started uh basically now we're trying to get the whole data list of all voters in the jurisdiction just because it's useful for our own research. But generally it's going pretty well. I expect to finish soon.
Great. Have we heard back from Boston? I know they were the one who were like, we need more time.
Yeah, not when I last checked. Um,
Well,
so
that's sad. Do better, Boston. Do better. So for 2026 campaign, any questions on the voter outreach effort? Okay. So for 2026 campaigns, Alec and I put together a very bare bones 2026 campaign plan. One of the action items we came as we're writing the script for or guidelines when Alec is contacting people who have signed up to be volunteers and voters and volunteers and local organizers and candidates, is that we should schedule some online organizer check-ins so that as we're calling people, we can have an immediate action item of, hey, you can come to the next upcoming organizers check-in and touch base with people and share ideas and identify what help you need and things like that. And so these were the dates that I put together, considering the biweekly, um, these biweekly member meetings and trying to like have different days of the week. So we kind of bounce around. So if someone like, oh, I'm always Monday at 6, I can't make it, but I can make Tuesday at 7 or something like that. You know, we can be able to accommodate that and be more flexible. So that's a suggestion. And then another idea is to additionally have like the either first or last 15 minutes of this meeting be kind of an organizer's check-in. Um, just as, you know, the more opportunities people have to kind of check in and, oh, I'm running into this issue, or I need this, I need more flyers or whatever, you know, they can just kind of come in and do that. I mean, they can always email us at info@masspirates.org, but, you know, it's always good to talk with other people. Hey, you know, I ran into like this particularly difficult person. What would you recommend for dealing with them in the future? We've all been there. So, uh, so anyways, those sound like good action items to do. I mean, I'm committing to the organizer's check-in, or you know, and certainly some of the time when Alec can, he can do that. But you know, I'm committing that I will be at those and organize those. But
Yeah, that sounds great to me.
Yeah, I do think it makes more sense. Sorry, I do think it makes more sense to have them as standalone meetings. Um, just yeah,
I mean, they still would be the standalone meetings, but on, you know, since they're roughly every 2 weeks, that way we just have a little bit of time if people want to like jump in, say we could have it at the beginning to be like, while we're just sitting here, we don't even need to necessarily record it. But just be like, the first 15 minutes while people are trickling in is, you got a question, come and check in, would be my
yeah. I
thought.
mean, it also makes sense as if as a regular part of the agenda, you know, people gave updates on their progress.
Hmm.
Um, just
Absolutely.
for the
Absolutely.
people in the wider party.
Yep. So any objections to this? All right, cool. So just the campaign plan, as I mentioned, is very, very bare bones. So basically, you know, most towns have elections in the first half of the year. Massachusetts legislative elections are November 3rd, 2026. That will be 40 state senators, 160 state representatives. About 50% to 2/3 of those seats will have only one competitor in the general election, generally a Republican or a Democrat. Well, generally a Democrat and occasionally Republicans. Um, and so, um, you know, there's a lot of opportunity for us, especially at the town elections, be it elected town meeting or um, town council or select board or school committee or any of the many other town offices that are there. Um, that's the background. You know, the objectives of this plan would be to identify and train our candidates for the 2026 elections, help them to set up their campaign, identify and train their campaign staff and volunteers, get on the ballot, fundraise, identify supporters, and get supporters to the polls. And then the campaigns kind of break down into three campaigns. You know, those that are going to identify supporters and get them to the polls in an active, concerted, get out the vote effort. Those who are able to organize campaign events, standouts, things like that, but may not um, go and put in the effort, be able to put in the effort to kind of go door to door and things like that. And just for step one could be, you're going to go through your entire district two, you're just going to walk like half a precinct and just identify those folks that you can identify. So where there's no, like, obviously we love people to be able to run, you know, dedicate their time and run a really solid campaign, but you know, different people have different commitments and trying to get pirates out there is important. And then finally, those that'll meet our minimum requirements, which are simply get on the ballot, meet with media to talk about their campaign, and attend any debates. And then, of course, we would encourage candidates to choose the campaign that will have the highest degree of success based on the available time. So if, for example, um, someone has a busy job and a family, maybe they don't want to run for select board if they've never run before, but maybe they might, if it's elected town meeting, they might want to run for town meeting or something like that. Or instead of running for like state senator, maybe they'll decide to, run for select board or town council um, or state rep or something like that. That we there's so many offices, there's so many things to choose from that we want to encourage people to choose that's going to kind of give them the best chance of winning, and certainly of making an impact.
And
Questions
also,
so yeah.
oh, sorry.
I was just going to
Also,
ask questions so far.
okay, sorry. I was just going to say, yeah, and also the strategy we talked about in terms of with candidates who were recruiting to kind of try and cluster the races they're running in so they can support each other.
Let me add that. Thank you. All right. So from this, we talked about documents we need. We need an updated organizer guide. We need an updated how to run for office guide, including how to videos. We have, if you go to masspirates.org, there's the whole list of issues, and you can go through each of those individually, but there's no holistic vision. So having kind of a pirate holistic vision that separates us from other political parties and tells people, if you get a pirate, this is what you get. As opposed to like a checkbox of these sets of, policies. And then thinking also about a how to govern guide, or kind of a pirate's guide to local government, which would include, our own knowledge, uh, as well as, Massachusetts local government guides and guide to town meeting, which the state elections division has, and any other FAQ we put together. Are there any documents I missed?
I think you covered it.
Yeah, the thing I didn't put is like how to govern for like we should have a how to govern state legislature, but I feel like, man, that can wait until we have a winner. I will put it together, and I think that's maybe that's, we should probably have it and probably think about that.
Have you guys considered partnering with or looking into runforsomething.org, someplace that already kind of does that and already has a lot of those resources already accumulated?
Had not heard of that. Frontforsomething.org.
Might be .net.
I think that would be a useful thing to gather. I know there's a group that does candidate trainings, so I need to reach out to them as well. So let me just hold on a second. Just gonna skip to the bottom and put in resources. All right. Thank you for that. And then I put together a timeline starting now and going through the end of 2025. So here we have schedule organizer check-ins through September. Done. Start outreach to organizers, candidates, and volunteers. Done. Starting the next few days. Have all the voter records in progress. Start discussion of the pirate vision, including what core issues we want to focus on. And then by also start of August, initial outreach to organizers and candidates. 2021 schedule organizer check-ins through October. So that's kind of a monthly thing. So we're always keeping track of that. And then initial outreach to volunteers by the 15th. And then schedule organizer candidates check-ins through November. So there's kind of some duplicates. I haven't filled it all in, but it's just to kind of keep us honest and keep us on track. So for Q through, we have, continuing to schedule the organizer check-ins, and we've identified all of our candidates by November 15th. I've started candidate trading by the 30th. Roughly November 30th is when the first town nomination papers are available. Oh, there's a step we missed. And that is maybe we don't need to, maybe we don't. I was going to put, get the list of dates and requirements, but if we don't have a candidate, if we don't have anyone who's interested in a particular town, then we don't necessarily need to go through and gather that information. If we have a candidate, then we have kind of a rough when the elections are, so that gives us a rough guide. So if someone contacts us and we'll be like, oh yeah, roughly around now is when the nomination papers are available, you should contact them and get those. Just to keep that fine in general, but I don't know that we need to contact all 351 cities and towns to get that. But we do have some of that. So continue with more check-ins and then finish the pirate vision by the end of the year. Does that seem too late? I mean, I feel like that gives us 11 months to go forward with it. Thoughts?
Mm-hmm.
Great. And then, 2026 gets a little loosey-gooseier. So continue with the check-ins, blah, blah, blah. State nomination papers are available roughly the middle of February. Write the how to govern guide by the 15th, because pretty soon we're going to have the elections are generally, I think, usually by February or March is when the first town election. So we really want to have that ready. So if there's someone who needs it, they can do that. They can kind of jump in, because usually, like Steve, what is it, like a couple weeks between the election and then elected town meeting or town meeting? Or is it even just like a week? Forget.
Say again?
How long is the delay between, on average, say for Arlington, how long is the delay between the elections are done and town meeting meets?
So about 3 weeks.
Okay.
So elections are early, or like the first Saturday in April, and town meeting is the last Monday.
Okay. So that's probably a good time to have that done. Continue with the
Oh, can I just
yeah, please go.
I was just going to say, so in terms of like the form of this kind of how to govern guide, I mean, you know, I agree with the idea of making the materials, but like as in kind of just like a document guide or like are we talking about because if we have candidates who win, right? Like would it make more sense to kind of have some kind of party meeting and essentially just people be able to discuss things and be kind of given a presentation? Like is the idea of us writing the governing guide that people come across it online and can use it, or like just the form?
I guess I see it as you're a newly elected town meeting member slash select board slash city school committee. These are the things that you need to know to kind of get yourself up to speed quickly and to be effective.
Okay, I
And
just think
even
like
if that's you know refer to this document or refer to that document, and that's what it is. But um, or
yeah.
summarize that, more details refer to this, so that way someone who's elected for town meeting or another office doesn't come in blind, but they have this is the procedure, this is how things work.
I
So
just think to the
Mhm.
extent that we can, like we really want, because again, I do think that a lot of our successful campaigns, the ones that we're really trying to get them to win, like at local office, like a real big part of the campaigning material should be like mechanically what the candidates can do, specifically on things like housing. So like I do think, I mean, obviously the candidates can like have the crash course before they go to the meeting, but like I think we should be trying to like get them that information as the campaign is going. And especially just in the sense of them needing to know what they're going to do so they can campaign on it.
Yeah, and it's with town meetings are a little tricky because different towns do things differently.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't know. You can do some very general stuff, but I don't think we could cover every possible town in detail.
No, agreed. So does that cover what you're asking for, Alec? Like, what can the office do?
Well, I think I'm more just making a point about like I don't know if it makes sense to just have a document that's called How to Govern, because I feel like
Okay.
it's kind of that like it just because again there's the issue of specificity in terms of how useful it is based on the specific thing of the office, and also the point that like we're going to need to be communicating that information and making sure the candidates are learning that information like throughout the campaign process, and definitely by the time they get elected. And like I don't know if a guide's the best way to do that.
So how would you prefer that we communicate that information?
Well, I think in terms of candidate vetting, for races that we want them to win and they want to win and they think they have a good chance of it, making sure that they're already know a bit about the office, and that also that they're researching it as they go along and incorporating that into their campaign. Basically, just their process of campaigning should utilize that knowledge and make them get it. And then also just it might be useful to have party meetings where people can share different things about their knowledge of town meetings and strategies they use.
Okay. Um, so I know Steve has given two talks on this that have been recorded and not yet put up, um, at least for town meeting and other town government. Um,
I think I also have recorded talks that have been put up.
yeah.
So, we may be able to check something off there, or we may have material there.
Okay. So if I get so Alec, you think that having whatever we pull together, whether it's just a link of, hey, here are the documents that the state has and videos that Steve has and whatever we put together, you feel like that needs to be available sooner, and we need to have meetings with candidates so they can kind of get up to speed with that as well. Does that make sense? Am I hearing you right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, regardless of the form, I guess what we need is we need candidates who know what they're talking about, and also just in terms of developing the party's policy platform. Um, we're looking into contacting some housing places, but just like or housing nonprofits to get some advice and policy. But it's almost like candidates. If somebody's running for town office, they should have like the core of the campaign must be what they're going to do with that office. And so, in that sense, yeah, I to try and sorry, I'm rambling kind of, but to clarify, it's like they are going to get the information themselves. There's some wisdom and policy info that the party should have accessible, and also we should help to inform candidates. Um, yeah, yes, sorry. I think what you're saying makes sense.
Okay, so we have 11:30 is when we get started for candidate training. Um, does that seem like a good time? Like if we roll the candidate training and kind of office holder training into one?
I actually think that's a very good idea because it also, in the aspect of candidate training, I do think a very valuable thing is also just giving our crash course in the policy platform, talking with the candidates. They can have
Mhm.
a pluralistic thing, but still like giving the candidates the messages overall that we're trying to use as a party, the specific strategies, the things we're trying to get them to do with their specific office. Just like make sure the candidates fully understand um, what we want from them and how we think they might win, and also of course hear back from them.
Okay. Okay, so we can schedule on because we have a wide variety of offices, and what's germane to a town meeting member may not be germane to a state senator. Probably isn't. So we can schedule different days for different offices. And then, sorry, you said candidates know what we expect of them, and I feel like there's some other part that I missed.
Yeah, candidates know what we expect of them and know like the party's overall strategy
Okay.
and like messaging.
All right. Does that look good? Do those three bullet items contain all the required information? So if that's the case, then we can move this. Where is it? This will get moved forward. Okay. Um, just point out that we have the Pirate Vision document doesn't get finished till the 30th of December, but we've started the trainings in the 30th of November. So, I mean, that's actually not a bad thing because then we can kind of talk with the candidates and revise the vision document as we're talking with our candidates. Okay, so, for Q1, besides, uh, the besides the general have this check-in scheduled. Well, for Q1, we changed to organizer and candidate check-ins rather than just organizer. We've got the nomination papers available, and then we talked about having a post-signature gathering candidate conference, probably more for state than town. But of course, it would be open to everybody, and so we would need to start planning. That would be after the nomination papers are due, which would be after the 30th of April. So I thought, we should probably start scheduling it around March 15th. Nomination papers due, as I said, are April 30th, roughly. And then, our post signature gathering candidate conference would be sometime in June. The primary election is roughly September. And then, early voting, mail-in voting, last day to register to vote, general election, and, continuing with the check-in. So, what other dates am I missing or are we missing? What other milestones do we want to, have prepared so we can keep ourselves honest? I mean, that's not to say this can't evolve over time, but
What's the deadline for your candidates to register? Is that on there?
oh yeah, you mean register in the party?
Yeah, I mean, if they're gonna run when they register with the state,
Yes. Yep. Let me.
deadlines would be important.
Yep. I don't know what that date is, so I'll have to find it, um, but that's important. There is like if you're a Democrat and you switch to pirate, there's a window for that. Um,
I suspect, yeah, that would be after the Democratic primary, whenever that
oh
is.
no. So for state, the Democratic primary is in September, but in order to get on the ballot, you have to get on the ballot by roughly April 30th.
So
Um,
sorry, I see the deadline to register to vote. Update your registration or change your party is 10 days before any election or town meeting from the
Not the same
Secretary of
thing.
State. Oh, sorry.
No, so this is there's like if you were say a Democrat and you switch to pirate to run, there's a if you don't do it by this date, you can't do that. And obviously we're trying to get people to deal with this in now through November,
Yeah,
so it's less of an issue. But if we had someone who last minute is like, I don't want to be a Democrat anymore, I want to be a pirate and I want to run, we need to know that. Um,
what's the deadline for a candidate to put in their paperwork to get on the ballot in general?
right, that's usually so. There's two deadlines. This is when state nomination papers are due at cities, towns. And then a month, well, 4 weeks later, so I'm going to say the 28th, but we can get that, is when nomination papers are due at election division. And then another question is, when do you need to file your OCPF stuff? Is the So you have to file an ethics report, which I think as long as you file it. I'm not sure which date you have to file the ethics report, but we should know that. OCPF is Office of Campaign and Political Finance, so we need to know that. Um, and what's the date to pull papers? Which, we've for state rep, state senate, you've got 10 weeks from when the papers are first available to when they are due at cities and towns. So, even if you have even it's like, oh yeah, you got 3 days before when they're due, it's like, that doesn't help you if you have to get 150 signatures.
All right,
Uh,
sorry. I found a how to run for office PDF from the Secretary
right.
of State saying that candidates who wish to run in a political party primary must have been enrolled in that party throughout the 90 days preceding the deadline for filing papers. Additionally, yeah, so that's as far as I know is the applicable thing.
Before papers are due.
Yes, the 90 days preceding the deadline for filing nomination papers.
Okay. Well, wait. So is that filing nomination papers with the state or filing nomination papers with cities and towns?
With the Secretary of the Commonwealth. So I think that'd be the
Okay.
state.
So that would be the state. So that's roughly 528. 432, right? So 230. If it's let's just say 28 is date to change registration. All right, I think that's my roughly. Okay. What was the last thing? What are the dates for what? All right, well, I'm not sure what I was thinking there. Other dates that we need to know? All right. So anyways, this is the schedule. I wasn't as concerned about the mail-in early voting and last day to register for the primary, simply because we don't have primaries. But there are dates for if a candidate withdraws. There's a date to replace them. Although I feel like, yeah, I don't know. All right. So in terms of are there other dates folks think we should add? All right, hearing none. And then we've got the resources. So that's the draft plan. I guess my thought is kind of leave it out there. We can send it to all members and see if we get any comments of things we're missing. And then any other comments or questions on 2026 campaigns?
So I do see one thing about the aspect of candidates registering their party. So it says party candidates must not have been enrolled in any other party for 1 year prior to the same filing deadline. Would that not apply because we're a political designation?
Read that once more.
Party candidates must not have been enrolled in any other party for 1 year prior to the same filing deadline.
I don't think that that applies to us because we're political designations.
Okay.
But it would be good to contact the elections division and confirm. Would you be able to make that call tomorrow?
Yeah. Or I could email them too, if that's fine. But
Sure, absolutely. So yeah, so that date has already, if that applies to us, that date is already passed, right? But it would still be good to know what that date is. But I don't think it applies to us. So hopefully that's what the elections division tells you. All right. We got to move on to the next pirate news unless there's any objections.
No, go ahead.
All right. So pirate news, my suggestion is schedule it for Sunday, July 20th at our usual 7 p.m. That work?
That sounds fine offhand.
Okay. All right. It is 8:53. We do like to stay to an hour, but we're not there yet. So I think we. Let me see something. So I think, Steve, do you have the rec from the last meeting? Was this the bill we were looking at?
I don't think so.
Okay. What?
Yeah, they are doing some maintenance. Earlier in the meeting, malegislature.gov was a generic IIS landing page. Um, so I think we that web the legislature's website may be very hit or miss for a while. They seem to be
Okay.
doing work.
Well, what's funny is like one page was fine and the other page wasn't.
That could be caching.
True, fair enough. So that would be an act relative to that's 2687, right? All right. So relative to protecting Massachusetts residents against federal government surveillance. So I'll go back to here. Um, so I talked with the person who wrote that, and they're well, it's someone we all various people of us know from Restore the Fourth. So so my recommendation is to endorse that.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with that.
Any objections to that?
What does it do?
So it puts in place requirements in terms of retention of government surveillance data, and protections so that the data will be removed after a period of time if it's not used in a case. Does that sound like a fair summary,
Yep.
Steve? Yeah.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, it's like we can't view it. Yeah. So if you
All
don't,
right.
I'm
Well,
just saying, like we know, I know the person who wrote this, and you know he's worked years, over a decade on surveillance issues, and he's really good. So if he's the one who wrote it, I'm inclined to support it.
okay.
I mean, we can put it off another week or 2 weeks if we want.
No, no, I'll support it.
Okay. Any objections to supporting it? This is H 2687, an act relative to protecting Massachusetts residents against federal government surveillance.
Sounds good to me.
All right. Not hearing any
Oh,
objections.
what
Yeah.
one last thing, as
Yeah.
I've been just reading a bit more, I think because we're a political designation, the 90-day thing might not even apply. It might just be part of the nomination papers. So, because there's no because I think we'd just be classified kind of as independents. I'll make sure to email the Secretary of State's office to
Yeah.
resolve the confusion.
That would be wonderful. Thank you. Yeah. I'm not recommending that someone jump, join us 5 days before the deadline. But, if someone wants to go and gather 150 or 300 plus signatures and can do it in 5 days, then more power to them. Assuming they're ideologically compatible with us. All right. So since the Commonwealth bill, since we approved endorsing 2687, and looking at the other ones is not easy. I'm gonna bring us back to. I don't think we approved this write-up, this position on CDA, Communications Decency Act, Section 230. Am I mistaken on that, Steve?
I'm looking at, going to go back through minutes.
Okay, thank you.
So, and we decided to add it to the list of issues we want to take a position on, but I don't think we formally took a position.
So did we approve this statement or not?
I don't believe so.
Okay, so the statement is, so for those of you who don't know, the Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act is the primary reason why we actually have free speech on platforms on the internet. We have supported Section 230 implicitly, but we never wrote up a statement why. And so this is that attempt. So basically it reads Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, CDA 230, specifically Section 230C, which reads, and then the section is read, is the reason we have user shared content on millions of sites around the internet. It is what protects the comment section of our site and all others on the internet. Efforts to tamper with Section 230 have made people worse off and harmed our First Amendment rights. With FOSTA and SESTA, maybe I should spell those out now I think about it. Congress excluded consensual sex work from Section 230 protections. The resulting law has made consensual sex work more difficult and more dangerous for sex workers while not stopping sex-focused human trafficking. And I specifically did sex-focused human trafficking because all human trafficking is bad. Right. But they're only focused on sex-focused human trafficking. And so anyways, the Massachusetts Pirate Party categorically opposes efforts to exclude any human activity from Section 230 protections or to limit or expire Section 230 protections in whole or in part. So is that a good statement? Are we okay with that statement? Is it sufficient? Should we add anything? Is it fine to be approved as written?
I think it's a good statement.
I have no issues with it.
Any other? All right, great. Well, then seeing no objections, such it is passed. Okay, well, we're pretty much at time. And I'm sure these other things are going to take more effort than probably the minutes that we have. So, unless there's any other comments, shall we adjourn?
So moved.
All right. Well, I do have a second. I'll second. Fine. All in favor of adjourning?
Yes.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. With that, thank you all for attending.
And thank you, Finn, for joining us.
Yes, very much so.
No problem. Maybe I'll follow up with one of you guys to talk about Alex.
Yeah, that'd be great. And so I wish everyone a wonderful week. We will have we'll have various events coming up. And so, and we'll see you next Sunday at Pirate News, or probably the Monday. All right. Take care, folks.